Welcome again, friends, to another episode of Thoughts on the Edge. I'm here again with my co host, Reinaldo Torres, and we're here to talk about, unfortunately, politics. I know that we vowed not to touch politics for a few episodes, but given what's going on with Trump, and I can't wait to not say that name, right? I mean, Trump, woof. It's like it's just get it out of our mouths, out of our minds. I feel it's going to take a while even after he's gone, but nonetheless, we're here to discuss politics today. We're here to discuss what happened at the Capitol last week, and words matter. So we're here to discuss that too. So that's what we're gonna talk about in this episode. So, Reinaldo, as always, you're a leadoff man.
Man, can I just say it's exhausting. Um, to see what transpired last week, to see what's happening now, it's just exhausting to even talk about. It's exhausting to still bring up. And what's even more tiring, I think, is you say something and you're scrutinized. You don't say anything and you're still scrutinized. It's just an exhausting conversation to keep having, but then it's like you have to have it because you have thoughts, you have opinions, you have feelings, and you have to get it out. Because if you don't, then it just stays boiled up. It just stays just in your mind. So like I said, one of the things I love about having this platform is just the freedom that I have to come and talk about these issues in a safe space, because I think that is something that is lacking in the realm of public conversation now, is having a safe space where you can talk about these issues, because there's so many opinions and everybody just with their feelings and their emotions, and sometimes it gets a little out of hand.
Well, let's get to that point, right? I liked what you said there about opinions. We should start there. So, in a democracy, right, everybody's free to have an opinion. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's the bedrock of a
yeah,
democracy.
we're allowed to feel what we feel, right?
However,
Yeah,
when does an opinion become ridiculous, right? To the point where somebody is peddling false information
mhm,
to the detriment of society, right? And to the possibility to harm others.
yeah.
So when does an opinion turn into a harmful opinion?
I think that when you start coupling violence into that and bodily harm, that's when it gets out of hand. I was reading a post from one of my good friends in Virginia who said that, and he pretty much said what I would have said, that, it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. This is not an issue of Democrat versus Republican. This is just, when you couple violence into this, no matter what side you're on, when you start talking violence and this level of violence and disagreement, that's when you lose. It's there's no better way to put it, that I personally have friends that are on both sides of the coin, and like me, they don't support this. They're looking at this moment right now and they're like, what is going on? This is unacceptable. So yeah, when you start coupling violence and bodily harm into this, that's when an opinion, in my mind, goes too far.
Well, let's stick to that, right? This is not about Republican versus Democrat, but at some point, I mean, it's starting to become that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this was not initially about Republican versus Democrat. This was about a specific brand of Republicans, right? The Trumpists, the Trumpism. That's what
Mm-hmm.
they call them, right? It's a specific type of fanaticism built around a man.
Yeah.
And this is what people don't understand, right? The Constitution was not set up to idolize the president. The Constitution was set up for anything but that, right? I mean, the first presidents were relatively weak compared to the power of Congress,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's power was supposed to be vested in Congress, and so it's a sad day in the United States when Congress is actually trying to do its work, and it's disrupted for the benefit of one man, right? This is fanaticism 101. They idolize this man. So this is not about a political party's ideology. This is about what one man stands for, right? And this shows again how fragile our democracy is, to the point where it becomes taken hostage by a con artist. We're talking about a man who, has no training whatsoever in politics, has no legal training, right? He is a showman. That's what he does. Even
Yeah.
even his businesses are dubious, to say the least. I mean, the three
Reality,
bankruptcies,
a reality TV star. As I
reality TV star. Yeah.
all the time, I think that we, the American people, were cast in a reality show, and this is the point where the writers are looking at the ratings and they're just doing things to keep it interesting. Um,
And then you get to the rioters, right? You get to these insurrectionists, and this is why words matter, right? This was not a protest. And people who are equating this to the Black Lives Matter protests that we saw in the summer, they're just foolish, right? One is representing a struggle for human rights here, right? You know, in the face of injustices committed against Black bodies,
mhm,
right? That's one movement.
yeah.
Whether you want to participate in it or not, that's up to you. But that's one movement.
Mhm,
This is not anything compared to that. This was a riot, right? To go through Capitol Hill,
yeah.
to go inside the Capitol, vandalize windows, vandalize doors, spread feces, right? Which is what the reports are saying now from the FBI. You're spreading feces throughout the hallway. I mean, you're hanging, Trump flags and Make America Great hats on the monuments, on the statues that are in the Capitol. How is that patriotic? And plus, of course, who does all these the damage, who has to pay for all this? Taxpayers do.
What's so interesting to me is that the day that it happened and a couple of days after it, I was having a conversation with a couple of my best friends from high school, and we all kind of said the same thing collectively. If this had been any other race, if this had been Black Americans, if this had been Hispanics, if this had been any other race, nationality, there would have been bloodshed on the steps of that Capitol. Like, we would not have been able to get away with this at all. Point blank, let's just call a thing a thing.
Absolutely. This shows that there are two Americas, right? There is, again, and not only that, but you look at the ridiculousness of the people who have been arrested, right? Like that shaman guy. Oh, he didn't want to eat the food in federal prison because it wasn't organic. And so this is the point we've gotten to, right?
I didn't even
You're
hear
arrested.
it, but thank
Yeah,
you.
you're arrested for what is essentially domestic terrorism. And you request an organic meal and you get it, which is the worst part. This is what we've come to, right? It's whose lives matter more than others is the question here, right? And I think we saw that, as you said, on full display last Wednesday. Um, this would have been any other group, right? Non-white group. Oh yeah, there would have been bloodshed. The National Guard would have been called in much quicker. Actually, the National Guard probably would have been there before, right? Given the intelligence reports that people receive. And that's why the FBI now is doing its job and actually investigating, right? Capitol Police, disciplining people, and hopefully arresting those who are responsible for this insurrection.
And I want to be very, very clear about something to all of you guys listening out there. Me saying that comment that I just said about, and this is not a playing victim card. This is not a Black versus white issue. This is none of that, because there are Caucasian Americans who believe the same thing. There are Caucasian Americans who believe the same thing. There are white Americans who believe the same thing that we're talking about right now, that if this were any other race that doesn't support this level of violence, they would have been assassinated right there on those steps. So before you guys come for me in email and Messenger, Facebook, Instagram, saying, well, you don't understand what's going on here, understand this: that was complete BS. So those of you who believe that this was an act of patriotism, well, you know what you can do. the unfollow, the block, whatever you feel is necessary to do because I'm saying this, go ahead, unfollow it. It would make my life much easier. But I've heard that the reason I'm saying that is because you heard that. I've heard that a lot in reading social media posts that, oh, they're making this black and white issue, and it's really mind blowing because it doesn't have to do with that at all. As you said, this is two different. It's like where we really need to be focusing is, again, accountability and looking at the people who continue to divide us and who are this.
Oh, absolutely, right. And then now we have threats, to all 50 Capitol buildings, according again to, FBI information, right? There's threats to all 50 Capitol buildings. There is more, violence being threatened by these same groups, these same extremists. We have to call them what they are. These are not patriots. These people are crazy extremists. They've lost their mind. Okay,
Yeah.
not in a good way.
This is
They've
not
lost their mind.
Again,
no.
I reiterate this again. This is not Republican versus Democrat. This is not black versus white. This is a whole different side of America.
Yes, it's a whole different side of America. A different side that has accepted the following. They've accepted to not accept facts. Okay. What do I mean by facts? So they don't accept that it was a fair election, even though there's been recounts done, even though Trump has lost now in court over 60 times. And by the way, judges who ruled in these cases were appointed by him, by Donald Trump in some cases, which is the irony in all this. Right. It's been certified. I mean, and it was not this whole craziness of Trump repeating that it was a close election. It was not a close election. We're talking about millions of votes in the popular count, more than when Hillary ran.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a very, very wide discrepancy in terms of electoral votes here, right? I think Trump ended with 232. You need 270 to win, sweetheart. So it was not close, to say the least.
Yeah.
So the fact that they accept what he says, that it was a landslide victory on his behalf, and fight for this. This is not democracy. This shows that it's all about, it's a cult, idolizing one person, because even Pence is dispensable.
Yeah, I was. Pence is a little irritated with him right now. At the fact that he initiated the violence to happen. It's been said all over that a lot of Republicans that are now seeing that, hey, there's never been a president in the history of the United States that has done what he's done at the level at which he's done it. And it all stems from the fact that he's now fearful of owning up to what he's done the past 4 years. Nothing else can be said.
Yeah, and this was not a surprise. For people who say, oh, this was a surprise, you can tell this was organized, number one, right? You can tell by the tactical gear that people were wearing. You can tell by the way they stormed the Capitol. They knew where to access points in the Capitol building, right? I mean, if you and I tried that, we would have been shot on the spot.
Oh yeah.
And just as individuals, forget a mob.
Yeah.
If just you and I, just the two of us went there and did that, we would have been shot on the spot.
Yeah.
Okay. But somehow these people were allowed to enter in their crazy outfits, and smear the hallways with their shit and desecrate, right? Even the John Lewis Memorial that's there, I mean, this is and what the Capitol Police, especially the black Capitol Police officers, were saying, right? That these people were saying nasty things toward them, racist things.
Mhm.
I mean, this is what it's come to, and again, for people to say that this is patriotic,
I just
that to
pray,
me is just,
I just pray that in 25, 30 years that the kids that will sit down in class and read about this, I hope that it's not discounted. I hope that it is accurate,
yeah.
because my niece and my nephews will read about this in history books in 25 to 30 years. And I pray that it is not discounted, it is not swept under the rug, that it is accurately told so that
Well,
they,
let's focus on that point, Reynaldo, about accurately told, right? This is again where facts matter,
yeah.
right? I don't know about you, but on social media, I only have Facebook, and what I've seen so far on Facebook, it's a litany of lies, right? It's from people who support what happened and who support
Mhm.
Trump. It's words like liberty get thrown around, and don't tread on me, that stupid saying that people don't even understand where it comes from and what it means, but they use nonetheless. It's incredible the lack of empathy that these people show, right? It's not even wearing, let's start with people not wearing masks, you know right? It's like they don't understand that to live in a community means to have a responsibility to each other, and that always means giving up some liberties,
Like,
but to them it's
like I said, I'm not here to debate and step on anyone's toes and tell you what to believe.
at this point I am, and I'm
Whether
going to make it clear.
you know, I've gotten pretty good at scrolling past. If I see something that I read and I may not agree with, I've gotten pretty good at just scrolling past it. But you're right. At a certain point, you look at people and you say, where's your where's your empathy? Where is your, if you don't want to wear the mask, fine, but at least cover up for the other people who are battling this right now, or at least give them peace of mind.
Yeah.
If you choose,
Or I don't
you
know
know
about you, but one of the posts that I've seen that just every time I see it, I'm like, how stupid can this person be? Where they're like, oh, do you actually know anyone who has died of COVID? What that's like the coldest thing anybody can post.
well, you know what, yeah, to respond to that, yeah, I have.
So have I.
I'm gonna be the first one to say this, my mom had it. Even though her symptoms were mild, she described it as 11 days of hell, because where I'm sitting right now, her bathroom is literally 3 steps away. To get up out of the bed and walk to the bathroom was an exercise in the Olympics, because she just could not do it. And at one point, she thought that she was not going to be here to see the next day. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine from high school, her boyfriend had it to the point where he was hospitalized. He had to be intubated. He was hallucinating. It was really, really bad. To hear him tell it, it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
So don't, even if you have not dealt with it, or you have not experienced it, or you don't know anyone who's died from it, it is still a real virus that people are dying from, that people have died from.
But again, it's the unwillingness to accept things that their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, has not said, right? And this is why I believe, the impeachment is necessary, and I believe it's important to remove him. Even though there's a few days left in his presidency, what will the symbolic gesture, not only symbolic, I mean, if somebody is convicted after being impeached and actually, removed, the consequences are, they lose the pension that's promised to them right after their presidency, and they also lose protection of the Secret Service, which I think Trump deserves to lose those things. I don't think he deserves any more taxpayer money going to his pockets,
And I just
especially after what he's done.
And I just want to say this too. People seem to believe that Joe Biden will be the inauguration will be happening in a couple of days. And people seem to think that we, the American people, are not going to hold him accountable once he gets in office. Let me be the first to tell y'all. If he does not deliver on his promises, I will be the first in 4 years to say, Joe, adios. We are going to hold him accountable. Believe me, now more than ever, we're going to be watching what he does.
Yeah, and again, this
because
is not
we
about.
are sick of this rhetoric. Trust me, we're sick of it.
Right. And then I guess, just to start kind of winding things down here, people are calling for unity.
Yeah.
And yes, but that does not mean forgetting, and that does not mean excusing.
Yeah.
So how unity will begin if Republicans actually bolster the courage for once, right, in the Senate and say, yes, you know what, we agree, we're going to convict, we're going to, affirm the impeachment here, right? We want him gone. We want him excised from the Republican Party. And it's interesting, Mitch McConnell is hinting at that, right?
Yeah.
That's how healing and unity will begin.
Like
These people,
I have many friends on the Republican side, on the coin, that I absolutely cherish the friendships, that I absolutely love. I even have friends that disagree on what's happening right now. But at least, they agree. Some of them agree, some of them disagree, but we have that type of relationship where we can still have a civilized conversation without being attacked because we believe what we believe.
And again, this is about the extremists. We're talking about extremists because same as you, I have, good friends. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine a few days ago over a cigar, right? Talking about these things, and he sees it differently, but we still spoke civilly.
Yeah.
And we're able to reach actually some agreements, right? This is about the extreme. I'm talking about the mobs.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about these people who are, again,
we're talking about the extremists here, guys. We're not talking
the domestic terrorists, right, who did what they did and who will continue to incite violence unless they're stopped in their tracks. And this is what I mean by not all opinions are equal, right? Especially if these opinions incite violence for no reason, right? Democracy is not under threat here. This was a fair election. The states actually, they were very careful, especially Georgia, to ensure, right, that the election process was fair. And again, there's been recounts, there's been court cases, all of that tossed out because it was, guess what, a fair election. And I just don't understand why these people are unwilling to accept that. But then again, I do. It comes down to the cult of personality that has surrounded this president since his first day in office. Actually, before that, right? I mean, that's why he got elected by some of these people. But it's a call to the extremists to just chill out. He doesn't care about you nearly as much as you care about him. And that's the sad fact, right? But I guess that's a sad fact about all idolatry, that people don't see it from the other side, the other perspective.
They don't want to see
they're so tunnel vision, right? Thinking that, this person is going to save them and give them a better world. And guess what? No, everything he touches, the opposite of King Midas, everything he touches turns to crap.
And I want to be clear that, again, in the 30 years that I've been on this earth, I've seen many presidents be elected into office, Republican, Democrat, and we've never had this problem with George Bush, with Barack Obama, with
even Al Gore, right? When
Al Gore.
I mean, that election was disputed, and it was that, talk about a close election. I mean, it came down to 500 and something votes in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That's a close election, right? And then he even accepted right, and even he presided over the certification process as vice president at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was he handled it like a gentleman.
Yeah.
Right. The peaceful transition of power.
Mhm.
That's what makes the United States the United States.
Yeah.
Right. And we're seeing the disruption of that in our lifetimes, which is, again, not a surprise to many who see this as the chaos of a crumbling empire. Right. But for others, it's especially immigrant communities, right, who have come from, countries escaping this type of stuff,
Yeah.
to get here and see this happening here. It's like, to them, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
what did we step into here?
Yeah. What
So
what universe did we wake up on? Like, we woke up on planet Earth, and I don't even know what planet, what season this is that we're in. But yeah, it shows that, and I'll end with this. 2021 may be a different year. It literally may be 2020 went home, put on a wig, and came back as 2021. It might be 20.
Well, what I tell people is happy December, 45th, 2020, right?
It might be the fact that 2020 is just turning 21 and cannot handle her alcohol or her liquor. We don't know. But it definitely shows that we still have a lot of work to do. Accountability, unity have to be at the forefront of everything now, because without that, what have we got?
I agree. And I think also, as a parting message, is confront indignity with dignity, right? So, these people are throwing feces around. They're doing, sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk. They're, breaking glass, causing havoc. Well, how should we respond? In a dignified manner, right? Quite the opposite. Show them what love looks like in the face of hatred.
Yes.
Right? That's the way to respond.
That's
and I get worked up. I'm the first one to tell you I get worked up over this. But that's not gonna mean I'm going to go out there and start, cursing people out and
yeah.
or doing any of this. No, you respond with dignity. And I think one way to do this is by elevating. I think that's my responsibility, at least, and I know it's probably your call, which is to elevate the conversation in public, right? That's what we're trying to do here, is elevate the conversation.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're stuck with feces in hallways.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want.
Yeah.
At least that's not what I want. I mean,
that's not what I want either.
Besides it being a public health hazard, it's just to live in that way.
Yeah.
To me, is just counter to everything I believe. So, last word.
Well, like I said, unity and accountability have to be at the forefront of everything now, because if we as a people cannot master accountability and unity, how can we expect our leaders to?
I think that's a good closing message. And so with that, we thank you again for listening. We just had to get this off our chest, of course, because this is the topic of conversation.
These were thoughts on the edge of our minds, and we had to do it. So thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're getting any value from anything we've said. If you want to join the conversation or you have an idea for a topic, please leave us an email, which I will link in the description box below. And as always, thank you for watching Thoughts on the Edge. I'm Reinaldo Torres. This is CJ Baldelamar. See you next time.
And we're signing off. See you next week.
See you next week.
Take care.